Architecture requirements management is the control loop that keeps stakeholder concerns, architecture decisions, design, governance, and delivery aligned. As needs change, TOGAF treats requirements as continuous, especially for a secure AI platform on Azure. Up to this point, we've built the architecture foundation: TOGAF and the ADM, Azure AI design, security, zero trust, and governance. Requirements management is where those pieces connect. It keeps business goals, stakeholder concerns, design choices, and responsible AI obligations aligned as the architecture evolves. In TOGAF, requirements management runs through the entire ADM cycle. It is not a phase you complete once and leave behind. As architecture work moves from vision to business, information systems, technology, migration, and implementation governance, requirements are discovered, refined, validated, and sometimes changed. Each phase can create a new requirement or trigger impact analysis on an existing one. The value is control and traceability. Stakeholder concerns stay connected to architecture decisions, delivery plans, and measurable business outcomes. A useful way to think about architecture requirements is as the navigation system for a change initiative. Strategy sets the destination, and stakeholder concerns define what the route must avoid or protect. Requirements turn those concerns into clear, testable expectations: what the architecture must enable, constrain, improve, or safeguard. This matters because every significant design choice involves trade-offs between cost, risk, security, usability, scalability, and compliance. Without requirements, those trade-offs become opinions. With requirements, architects can justify decisions, govern delivery, and confirm that implementation is still moving toward the intended business outcome. Requirements management is not a one-time capture exercise. It starts with elicitation, drawing needs from stakeholders, strategy, policy, risk, and current state pain points. Those needs are then validated and prioritized, so the team understands what is correct, feasible, valuable, urgent, and risk-sensitive. Traceability keeps each requirement connected to goals, capabilities, architecture artifacts, controls, and tests. Finally, change control and impact analysis protect the baseline. Before a requirement changes, the team asks what else is affected, then accepts, defers, or rejects the change with evidence. Architecture requirements rarely come from a single conversation. They are discovered by looking across the enterprise. Stakeholder interviews reveal goals, concerns, constraints, and what success should look like. Business strategy shows which capabilities must change. Security, privacy, compliance, and responsible AI create mandatory requirements, not optional preferences. Existing systems, operational pain points, incidents, and technical debt expose reliability, performance, integration, and maintainability needs. The architect's job is to connect these signals, resolve conflicts, and turn them into requirements that can guide design decisions. Before requirements drive architecture, they need a quality check. A strong requirement is clear enough that people interpret it the same way, feasible enough to implement, consistent with related requirements, and testable, so we can prove it was met. It also needs ownership, priority, traceability, and a direct link to stakeholder concerns and business outcomes. When requirements conflict, do not ignore the tension. Use trade-off analysis and governance to decide what matters most. And keep the level right. Architecture requirements should guide decisions, not define detailed implementation tasks. Prioritization turns a long requirement list into a defensible plan. Start by separating mandatory obligations, such as legal, security, privacy, and compliance needs. These are not optional trade-offs. For the rest, compare business value, risk reduction, urgency, cost, and dependencies. High-value, low-effort items often move first, while expensive or risky items need stronger justification. When requirements compete, make the trade-off explicit. Speed may reduce control, and personalization may increase privacy risk. Document the decision, the rationale, and who approved it. For major choices, use governance to keep prioritization transparent and accountable. Traceability is what keeps architecture honest. A business goal explains why change matters. That goal drives a capability, which defines what the enterprise must be able to do. The capability then becomes architecture requirements, what must be supported, protected, constrained, or integrated. Those requirements are realized through architecture and solution building blocks, then validated through controls and test criteria. The value is accountability. If someone challenges a design decision, you can trace it back to strategy. If a control fails testing, you can trace forward to the requirement and business impact. The Requirements Traceability Matrix, or RTM, is the practical tool that connects intent to proof. A business goal becomes a requirement. That requirement is mapped to capabilities, architecture artifacts, solution components, controls, and test criteria. As work moves from design to build to validation, the matrix shows whether each requirement is owned, approved, implemented, and verified. This is especially useful for Azure AI platforms, where security, data governance, and compliance obligations must stay visible. When something changes, the RTM helps identify what else is affected before risk reaches production. Requirements will change. The discipline is making sure each change is intentional, assessed, and visible. Every request should follow a defined path. Capture the change, triage it, then analyze the impact across scope, cost, schedule, risk, security, compliance, operations, and architecture. Significant trade-offs need governance, not hallway decisions. The board can approve, reject, or defer based on value and consequences. Once accepted, the change is not finished until architecture artifacts, roadmaps, backlogs, and traceability records are updated, and stakeholders understand the outcome. Impact analysis treats every requirement change as a ripple, not an isolated edit. If a requirement is added, removed, changed, or reprioritized, ask what shifts across business processes, data, applications, technology, security, operations, governance, and delivery plans. Traceability links help identify affected artifacts and solution components quickly. Then look for second-order effects, new controls, integration updates, higher costs, or added operational complexity. The outcome should be a clear record of assumptions, risks, dependencies, and recommended decisions, so stakeholders can choose with eyes open. In agile architecture, requirements do not arrive fully detailed. They are progressively translated into backlog language. A broad architecture need may start as a portfolio or solution epic, then become features, user stories, or enabler work. Stories describe user-visible behavior. Enablers create the technical foundation, such as security controls, logging pipelines, regional data enforcement, infrastructure, or compliance capabilities. The architecture runway is that foundation built ahead of demand. The architect's job is to guide this refinement, allowing design to emerge while still protecting intentional decisions and governance. For example, imagine the business asks for internal teams to use generative AI safely, without slowing everyone down. That goal becomes requirements: governed identities, approved network paths, protected secrets, monitored data access, and responsible AI controls. In Azure, those requirements map to services like Entra ID, Key Vault, Private Link, Azure Policy, Log Analytics, Defender, and Azure AI. The proof comes from tests: identity enforcement, classification, prompt logging, threat alerts, access reviews, and compliance evidence. The key message is simple. Architecture requirements are living governance assets. Manage them continuously across the ADM. Validate and prioritize them. Trace them from business goals through solutions and controls. Govern change with impact analysis. In agile delivery, make them visible in epics, stories, enablers, and runway. Next, we'll use these requirements to review, communicate, and assure architecture decisions.